Hi, I am Kurt. I am one of the co-founders here at Nimi.com, and I'm really excited today to be interviewing a really amazing coach. His name is Michael Bolduc from Thailand, of all places. I've reached him online. Michael, I could go through a huge list of accolades, but I don't want to take the entire recording. So I will say that, among other things, Brian Tracy, probably all know about him. He says of Michael that he is the world's #1 coach for setting and achieving goals. And he's been phenomenally successful in his life as a coach. And today I'm going to interview him about how he became successful and what he recommends to coaches who'd like to become more successful. So welcome, Michael. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Kurt, and it's good to be here. Thank you for having me to have this great interview with you today. Very, very happy about that.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, I do just want to talk about one concept that we introduced in our coach training program called Coach Marketing Bootcamp. And I think it's really relevant to your story. So for those of you watching who don't know about a concept that we call Coaching Nirvana. Coaching Nirvana is a place that coaches who have succeeded in the world of coaching are living and experiencing every day. So a lot of coaches who start out their journey towards becoming a coach do have a vision for their life. They have a vision where they're coaching every day, they're successful, they're charging what they feel they're worth, they're able to support themselves, and not just support themselves, but live a very good, comfortable life. They're spending most of their days coaching or doing things like that, and less of their time than maybe other coaches doing marketing and business building, which a lot of coaches don't want to do all of the time. And yet what happens in reality for probably 95% of coaches is they never quite make it. They get stuck on roadblocks to that path to their own coaching nirvana, whatever that is for them. So one of the things I'd like to do in this interview, Michael, is talk about your path to coaching nirvana, because I can see from the tropical plant in the background that is a little taste of where you're actually living. I know you're in a very nice, warm, tropical country right now, but you are one of those coaches, one of those few coaches, unfortunately, who are living that life, that coaching nirvana, that life that you want to live. So I'm going to go through, as we talk today, some of the ways that you've been able to achieve that. So hopefully people watching will be able to learn from you. But before we do that, if maybe you could just describe what is it that your life is like today. Describe your own version of coaching nirvana, if you can.
Okay. Well, first, let me give a little bit of perspective, because I wasn't always in coaching nirvana per se, right? There was a time I was living in my car for an entire month, and I only had $10 in my pocket. But as I started to climb the ladder, one of the key questions I asked myself is, what is my dream life? What is an extraordinary life for me? So I started thinking about what I really wanted, what excites me, right? And I'm from Canada originally, so it's very cold. So I hated the cold. So my whole dream was, living in a tropical paradise and doing what I'm most passionate about. So now today, what I've done is I created a vision board, and I put everything that I wanted: dream house, the dream cars, the dream girlfriend even. Now I've got four kids and a wife, so obviously that worked pretty well. So maybe I can show a photo of my house, but I live in this incredible mansion now. And I'm so happy to live here because it's a paradise here. I got swimming pool, electric gates, 7 bedrooms in the house, to give you a clue, right? So it's not small. But, and I'm also near the beach. So, and I get to do what I'm most passionate about. Every day I get to wake up, and wow, it's just so cool because I get to talk to people about changing their life. And all I do is I teach them my own secrets, right? So that I use to get there. And of course there's more than one, but it's an incredible feeling. It's a feeling of passion is what it is.
Well, that's very inspiring. I know that a lot of people watching right now want something like that. It might not be a tropical paradise. I believe you're in Thailand.
That's right. I'm in Thailand. Yes.
And it might be somewhere else. It might be even a cold country like Canada. Who knows, that I'm also from. That is part of some coaches' coaching nirvana. And yet I know how hard it is for people to achieve that. Many coaches, people who are in our network, are struggling just to get a few clients. They've given up, in many cases, everything in their life to pursue their dream, and often find it's just so much more difficult than they ever imagined. And sometimes they get frustrated and they just think, you know what, I think I just need to give up. And so I'm really happy that we can talk today and I can show our members, look, these kinds of coaches really exist. There is a coaching Nirvana out there, and it is achievable. There is a pathway to that.
Yes.
It's different for everyone, but maybe what we could do next is talk about your pathway. So obviously you didn't just do a coach training program one day and the next day you had a flood of clients every day in a house in Thailand. There was something you did in between, and that's what I'd like to know. What did you do? What was your path? And then I can ask maybe some more specific questions about some more detail.
I'm very happy to share. Yeah, very happy to share about that, because I think, you know, and I do coaching training now. I've certified more than 1,000 coaches. And what I can tell you is I've identified this pattern, and I can relate because I've done it too. I'm guilty. You know, you point one finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me, right? So the first mistake that I made is probably the biggest mistake. And it cost me a long time. It cost me years. And if I could go back, I would do it very, very differently. I would not do that again. And the biggest mistake is trying to do it by myself. And we all know the old adage saying, right? Trial and error. And I've done that. That's what I did. I basically tried to, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a coach. So I would try, I'm cool. You know, I can do it. I don't need a coach, right? So that's the way that I would basically go about it. And I think that was the wrong way. What I should have done instead is I should have actually went out and got a mentor. And it took me years to do that. But when I finally did that, when I finally got a coach to coach me, somebody who was already successful, quote unquote, right? He had the result that I wanted, because, you know, at some point I realized that there's 3 paths. You can, you know, do it by yourself, or you can, you know, just quit, or you can stress, right? Stress. And I think a lot of coaches are stressing out, right? They're doing it the hard way and it's stressful. And the third way is just to get a coach. And when I saw those 3 paths, I thought, you know, that's what I need to do. I need to get a coach. But the key there, the secret there, is to get an outstanding coach. That's the very best coach that you can afford, right? Don't just get a good coach, because you get a good coach, you get a poor result. Excellent coach, you might get okay result. But if you get an outstanding coach, the very best in the industry, somebody who's already got the result, usually they're able to turn you around. And that's what happened. I went from 4,000, and I wasn't even making that into personal coaching. I was making that as a satellite installer, part-time coach. And I went to full-time coach making $24,000 my first month. That's what I did. That's pretty cool, right? And that's a 600% increase in my income, right? Would that be cool if you could make a 600% increase in your income within 2 months?
Absolutely.
Pretty cool, right? So that's what happened. And I did that by getting a coach. So you're a coach, and you get your coach to coach you. And that's called coach to coach. And if you do that with a coaching certification course, I believe that is the best combination of both, definitely. Because doing a coaching certification course is not always enough. A lot of people go to these, coaching certification course, and they still struggle. They still don't get clients. So, because the truth of the matter is that you get a lot of value, and you should do those coaching certification course, but we all have blind spots. We don't know what we don't know. And that hurts us. That holds us back. So what I've learned, and that, once I made the 600% increase in my income, I realized, gosh, this is amazing. Why don't I continue working with super coaches? And I had enough money, of course, to do that, which is great, because when you have money, you can buy success. That's what you can do. And coaching is always free. Coaching should not cost anything. Coaching is free. It should give you a high return on investment, right? Because a lot of people think, coaching costs a lot of money. No, coaching is free. But if it's an outstanding coach, right? So
what would you say to someone who doesn't have that first initial cash outlay? Somebody who just says, I just finished my coach training. I maxed out my credit card. I just literally can't get that excellent coach to start. Where you were in that situation, what would you recommend?
All right. And so the question is, what's the solution? How do you turn yourself around when you've got nothing, right? And what people have to realize who watch this, who are facing a very difficult financial situation. First of all, I totally feel that because, like I said, I've been through some very difficult times where I had no money, I had nothing to my name, right? It sucks. I totally get that. And here's what I got to tell you. It's not about the money. It's about being resourceful. And what I mean by that, look, do you believe if you're committed, there's always a way? Of course you believe that, right? If you're
absolutely.
There's always a way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what I realize. It's not about the money. I can't hire a coach. What am I going to do? Struggling. No, it's not about that. It's about you getting committed. Say, look, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, because there's two kinds of people in this world. Those who make excuses, right? I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I'm not good enough, right? I don't have the knowledge. I don't know what to do, right? And those who do whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And what I realized is I had to make a choice. What kind of person am I going to be? Right? And I decided I'm going to be the person who does whatever it takes. In fact, I will wake up every day and I would say that over and over again. I will do whatever it takes to achieve my goal. And I would repeat that over and over again, just to condition myself not to make those excuses. So what does that mean, right? To do whatever it takes. My opinion, what it means is that, look, I sold my television, my VCR, my electric guitar to raise the money to go to a seminar so I could do the training, right? And then, I would sell things. And then I go out and my clients say, before they were my client, they were a prospect. They would say, Michael, I can't afford it. And I would tell them, look, it's not about that. And then they go out and they sell things, they borrow like money, and there's no excuses. What I found out, there is no excuse for not changing your life. If you're committed, you will find the money. How can you get the money? How can you sell it? Can you sell something? Can you get a new credit card? Can you borrow from your parents? Can you borrow from your friends? There's always a way. Find a way. Right? Or find a job until you get enough money to get a great coach. That's what I would do if I had to start all over again, for sure, right? For sure.
Now, how do you know somebody's a great coach? There's a lot of, I believe, very exceptional coaches that I know. And in my line of work, I've talked to numbers of them. What would you do to help figure out who is that really great coach that's going to make a difference?
Well, that's a great question. And it's probably the right question to ask, because I think that, again, there's so many coaches who don't know what they're talking about. They haven't paid their dues yet, right? But they can give the illusion to people, yeah, hire me, I'll help you. I haven't produced that result yet, but I can help you. Sure, just pay me, right? And that's bullshit, right? We both know that. We all know that, because the truth of the matter is that the only way the right coach is somebody who's got the result that you want. Not in every case, because I coach people that are more wealthy than I am, but they hire me for different reasons. They hire me for peak performance. They hire me to get the best out of them, right? But a lot of times, in the coaching business, we don't want just a peak performance coach. We want a mentor. We want somebody who's already got the success. Now, here's how you know. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. But you got to follow those clues, right? So if you can see that, hey, that coach looks like he's wealthy. He doesn't look poor. He looks got money. He drives a nice car, has a nice house. He seems to be doing well. That's a clue. That's a clue he's doing something right. Success and wealth is an effect. There's a cause behind that wealth. And all you got to do is hire a coach to find, how did you do that? What is the cause of the effect of all the wealth, all the success that you have? It's not an accident. Success is not an accident. That's the point here. So you got to look for clues, and you got to have faith. You got to follow, your intuition. If you feel good, if your intuition says, yeah, I like this coach, I think he's the right one, go for it. But if your intuition says no, then you better follow that.
Great advice. So let's talk about a couple of other things now, if you don't mind. A lot of coaches who I talk to, they have this goal. Their first goal often is to make six figures. Now they might have a seven-figure or bigger goal. Who knows? And that's great. But that six-figure barrier seems to really confound a lot of coaches. They might do sort of well. They might get enough clients to perhaps quit their job and work as a coach full time. But there seems to be a six-figure barrier. Have you seen that in your experience, and what do you recommend is the way to break through that barrier?
Yeah, that's a great question. And because I started my coaching business in 1998, just to give you a clue, right? Now, back in 1998, only 10% of coaches were making six-figure income. They were on the top. So 10%, the bottom 90% back in 1998 were making about $37,500 per year. So if you were in a $100,000 category, 1998, you were in top 10%. But here's what's been happening. Since then, the number of people making six-figure income has doubled from 10% to 20%. And I believe it's because there's just more role models. The coaches, the coaching industry are getting it. They're getting to, okay, here, I don't have to do it by trial. Let me find a mentor. Somebody's already done it and let me model them. So they're getting that. And that's great because that number is double, right? Now, what's interesting though is that what the bottom 90% don't get is what kind of business they're in. Like if I ask a coach, what kind of business are you in? They'll say, well, I'm in a coaching business, right? And the way they define what kind of business they're in is what holds them back, because it's what controls what they focus on. So in the beginning, I think a lot of coaches, they feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to be a coach. You know, can I really help people? So what they do is do a lot of training, right, to get their competence level up. But after a while, they do start feeling confident. I could coach people, but they still can't get clients. So either in the beginning, it's the problem they don't feel good enough, so they can't really, you know, have the confidence, or once they break through that barrier, they can't get any clients, and because they think they're in the coaching business. And coaches are not in the coaching business. You're in the sales and marketing business. And that may be a little bit confusing when I say that, but what I mean is that, look, what you focus on determines what you get. And there's certain, you know, what determines our income? Let's ask that question, right? What determines how much money a coach will earn? And the answer to that question is their earning ability, yeah? So then the question is, well, what determines their earning ability? Well, what determines their earning ability is their skills. Okay, so then the question becomes, what skills do they need to master, not dabble in, to really increase their income? Right? Okay, and then you'll say, well, I need a coaching skill. Yes, I know, but just like an airplane has two wings, right? You need to have the coaching skill, but you also need to have the sales and marketing skills. So what I teach a lot of coaches, they come to me and I teach them sales and marketing skills. I teach them internet marketing. Sometimes I teach them how to close the deal in the first coaching session. And some of my clients, they have as much as 80% conversion rate once they learn my 16 steps to get a client. So I teach them very specific 16 steps. They follow the same process, boom, they get as much as 80%. Okay, so that's pretty cool, right? Would you like to have 80% conversion rate? Would that be cool?
That would be cool.
That would be pretty cool, right? So then let's say you figure that part out, how to get a client within the first coaching session. Then the only thing, the choking point in your business is going to be how many leads you get that turns into appointments. And that's what I teach them. I teach them internet marketing. I teach them how to get clients. And there's a whole bunch of strategies and secrets that I teach them there that allow them to go into the six-figure, even seven-figure for some of the people that I've trained.
Well, let's talk about that then. So the six-figure barrier is something that I think if probably 90% of people who go into coaching would be thrilled with that. Yes. They'd be really happy if they could make that kind of living. And that would be a very good living. That would be an excellent income. But I know that you were not satisfied with that. You wanted to do more. And you have done better than that. So let's talk about the next barrier. Let's talk about that $1 million barrier. What do you think is the secret to breaking through that number?
Great question. Because I bet you there are some people in this video, this interview, who are going to watch this. They're probably already making six-figure income. That's cool. Great job, by the way. Well done. It's not easy to get there. You got there. I take my hat off for you. But the problem I see with those people who are making six-figure income is they have a problem to hire a more expensive coach, okay? Like I just spent $25,000 for paying for my personal coach, just to give you a clue, $25,000. And the feeling you get, right, when you got to spend, put in your like credit card, $25,000, we're not used to it, especially if you're not born from a wealthy family. I wasn't born in a wealthy family. I was born in a poor family. So to put $25,000 on my credit card, that's not a feeling I'm used to. You know what I mean? You buy a car for $25,000, right? So it was a feeling, you know, it's like, what if it doesn't work? And then you start to really, it holds you back from spending the money to hire these coaches who could take you. So you got to overcome that fear of, you know, spending like money. That's what it is. Let's be honest here, right? So, but once you do overcome that fear and you get, what you got to do is find $1 million coach, and they're not cheap. That's the problem. You're going to hire $1 million coach. Somebody's making more than $1 million a year. Man, they're not cheap. They're going to charge a lot of money. They're not going to charge, you know, $100 an hour. That's not going to happen, right? You're looking at least $500 per hour for a coach making $1 million a year and more, right? So they're going to spend $500 an hour for a coach. A lot of people struggle to pay that. So, but that's what I did. I found coaches who are making $1 million and above, and I hired them personally one-on-one to teach me their secret, so I could replicate their proven formula. Because if they're making $1 million, chances they're not only doing coaching, they're doing something else. What are they doing, right? Are they doing online training? Are they doing, you know, some other courses like sales or whatever? So what's their business model, and how are they getting people to join those? How are they getting people to go into their funnel? And I want to know their secret. And here's the key. What's exciting about this is the minute you hire a coach, they're obligated to tell you all their secret. Most people don't realize that. But if you go to a seminar, that's great, or you do an online course, they'll tell you a lot of their secret. They may not tell you all. But you get one-on-one coaching, people feel obligated to tell you exactly how they did it, right? I hired Jack Canfield as my personal coach, right? You know Jack Canfield, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Jack Canfield, he's very successful at publishing books. Right, he wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul, and that sold like 500 million, 500 million copies worldwide. Right, so that's pretty cool, right? So 500 million. I want to know, how does he do that? So I hired him to coach me, and I asked him, how do you write a bestseller? Well, he's got to tell me now. So he told me step by step, right? And some people would like to get an endorsement like Jack Canfield, right? That'd be pretty cool. If Jack Canfield say, hire this guy, would that be good? Would that be great?
Yeah,
pretty
for
great.
sure.
So how do you do that? Well, here's how you do that. You hire him as a coach, and you say, hey, Jack, you know the power of endorsement, right? What has to happen for me to get what would need to happen for you to give me your endorsement? And guess what? He's obligated to tell you, do this, this, and this. And you just do that, and you'll get his endorsement. You know, does this conversation make sense?
So let me put on my my cynic's hat for a second here, because what if somebody watching says, "Oh yeah, okay, so that sounds really good, but I don't know. It just sounds like I just have to spend a lot of money." You know, there's definitely a reaction a lot of people have. You know, I certainly have. What would you say to that reaction?
It's a normal reaction. You should be skeptical, right? And it's because the reason we're skeptical, this is the psychology of it. Because in the past, probably bad things have happened to you. Maybe you did some courts. Maybe the person who's looking at this, they might have even hired a coach and they had a bad experience and it did not get the result that they wanted. So those bad experiences kind of stick with them, right? And it makes you skeptical. So what that does is it creates a filter system. That filter system allows people to say, what's bullshit, what's truth? Because they've been bullshitted so many times that people become so skeptical. But you got to be careful that not to generalize and say all the coaches are the same. They're not. Some are poor, some are good, some are excellent, some are outstanding, right? So you got to look at the clues and you got to look at the truth. You got to say, what is the truth, right? And the truth is there are people who are doing well and there are people who are not doing well. So the question is, what's the difference between both groups, right? And the way you basically do it, right? Like you don't go out, I wouldn't ask anybody right now watching this, spend 25 grand with me, let's say, right? I would not ask that because it's too big of a jump. So what I teach people is say, kind of take a small jump, take their coaching certification course, spend, a couple of $1,000s with them, let's say, right? Do their seminar. Do you get a return? If you get a return, then go to the next level, do their next highest program. Do you still get a return? Then do the next program, right? And that's how I do it. I don't jump into any coaches and say, I'm going to spend all that money. I test them. I buy their programs first. They're smaller programs. And do I get a return on investment? And you can get their book first if you want. I have a book called Secrets of Millionaire Sales Masters, and everybody who's watching this video should get a copy of that book. Now, we don't advertise that book, but maybe I can make a special offer for those people who are watching this to give them a copy. And in that book, I revealed, how to sell yourself in the first coaching session. It's not about selling a car. It's not about selling a house. It's made for coaches, for life coaches, for professional coaches. And you read that book, I guarantee you're going to get value, that you're going to want to go to the next level and the next level after that. So that's why a lot of clients will end up spending $25,000 with me, because they get so much value. They spend 25, they'll probably end up making at least 250, if not 2.5 million, like 10 times or 100 times. So, and I know that because I've had that experience over and over again. So in business, what's the secret to business? It's about creating a raving fan. So if you have an entry product and you don't add enough value, then you're not going to go to the higher level. So that's why you got to spend a lot of effort in every step of the way. So the customer coming in, your funnel, your value ladder ends up getting a lot of money. So that's what we call it. It's called the value ladder. And you start with small product, add tons of value, and then they go up to the next product, maybe like $190, $200, and then you add a lot of value there. And then you go to $1,000 like product or $2,000, and you add lots of like value there, and you have $5,000 or $10,000 like product and $25,000. That's called the value ladder, which is something I teach coaches to do in order to, to add the amount of income that they earn. Makes sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're just about at the end of our time, Michael. I'm wondering if maybe as a final parting, you could maybe dispense what would be one more piece of advice beyond what you've already talked about to it could be any coach, but particularly let's say a new coach, somebody who's just starting out, who's or maybe been coaching for a while, really hasn't really seen the traction that they want. What other nugget of wisdom would you give to that person?
Believe that you're going to succeed. It's the hardest part, right? Because let me ask you this. If you were absolutely certain, without no doubt whatsoever, that you're going to become a millionaire coach, how hard would you work in the next year? Would you work a little bit, or would you work so hard to make that kind of money? And the answer is, of course, yeah, really hard, right? So it's the belief is the determining factor. Sometimes, you just need to believe that it's going to work out. You never know when the next person you meet will totally change your life. You just don't know that. This could be the time. What if this is the opportunity? What if this is the time where everything changes in your life? Just from looking this interview, there's a lot of secrets, hints here that I've given you that anybody watching this could use this to make over $1 million as a coach. We've already told you. It sounds basic, I know, but it really does work. So if I was starting over, right, and I had no money as a coach, I would find somebody who is a millionaire coach. I would do all their courses. I would not dabble. I would commit to mastery. And I would immerse myself in mastering what they do. I would model them, and I would do whatever it takes to hire them to coach me so that I could replicate their proven formula. And that's the shortest path from A to B, from where people are now as a brand new coach or even an existing coach to being a millionaire coach. And of course, before you become a millionaire coach, you're gonna have to make six-figure income, and then you probably wanna make $250,000, and then you go to the $1 million goal, right? Something like that. Usually, well, that's how I did it, right? The first breakthrough was making $100,000 a year. Then I made $250,000, and I went from $250,000 to $1 million a year. So that was the kind of the path that I took, right? So I hope that helps. But again, if I had to start over, definitely that's what I would do. Like I said right from the beginning, the biggest mistake I made was thinking I could do it by myself. And that is the most frustrating, stressful path to success. Get a coach, get a mentor, do their coaching certification course, immerse yourself into mastery, don't dabble, believe it will work. Just believe.
All right, Michael, and I know, really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. And thanks so much for talking to us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kurt.